Hello and welcome to Torches of Truth podcast, episode 6, Not Being a Hypocrite, Keeping the Gospel at the Forefront. Our first get-to-know-you question for the day is, it was our birthday, it's just backstory. It was our birthday this past weekend, so I turned 16, Keyan turned 14. So our question for today is, what is the funniest thing that happened over our birthdays?
So our best friends came over for our birthday, and me and my best friend Isaac, we were playing the Wii with my dad, and we played Mario Sports Mix on our Wii, and they whipped us pretty good in basketball, and I almost beat them in dodgeball by myself. But they kept on trash talking me when we played the next day, so they were like this. They were like, "Oh, you're gonna get smashed." And then me and Isaac won by 1 point, I think, in basketball. And then I whooped them in dodgeball. So I was pretty happy about that. And then me and Isaac, and then my friend Isaac was trash talking me that he'd whoop us all in Mario Kart, and then he got like
Last
place or something like that. So that was pretty funny.
Yeah, for us, so if you've ever heard of the game called Telestrations, if you don't know how to play Telestrations, you have a card, and on it, it'll say a word. You write the word, then you draw the word. It goes around like telephone game. And then, but basically, you have one of these things. You write your secret word, and then you draw what your thing is. So Isaac, Keyan's best friend, his word was banana. So he wrote banana on the front, drew a banana, an interesting looking banana. And then some guy gets banana. So then it goes to the next person, and it was a banana, and then not the next person. Well, then my dad decides to, and then my dad over here, near the end, decides to draw a banana bowl, like one of the bowls with like the little banana hooks and a banana on it. So he decides to draw that instead, and it looks just like a banana bowl to me. And so I was like, yeah, sure, you can go ahead. And you're not supposed to tell people what it looks like or whatever. But I had already guessed, so I went ahead and gave it to him, and he drew it, and we passed it around, and then Isaac gets his book back. He's like flipping. He's like, "Who drew a duck, an angry duck?" And we're all just dying. We're like, "What?"
Because I guessed Bill, because he had an arrow pointing to what I thought was the duck's bill. So
and
I wrote
it was
Bill.
some bananas, not an angry duck. But like I said, I will put the picture of Dad's beautiful angry duck on there. But yes, that was the funniest thing that I think happened, because we were all kind of slap happy. We hadn't slept in like forever. And my family, if you know us in person, you know our family is very energetic and very loud anyway. And so whenever you get us all lunatic because we haven't slept, it can be really fun. So that Telestration game was probably my favorite thing that we did for our birthdays.
Yeah, definitely. That was fun.
All right. So,
what are you looking forward to this year as you're older?
Oh yeah, what are you looking for?
You're getting your license.
I am getting my license.
I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I'm too old.
I'm not that old. But yes, I am looking forward to getting my license, because just practically it'll help a lot, especially with basketball practice, since both of us play basketball. Sometimes we have practice on the exact same day, so it's a lot easier if I can drive myself if need be, and I don't have to keep asking my poor neighbor for a ride to practice every time. About you?
Well, I guess I'll have to do a bunch of practice tests and junk for my learners next year.
Jen, one of our questions. So our topic for today is not being a hypocrite. So Jesus hated hypocrisy. This is very evident in the Bible. He blasted the Pharisees multiple times for hypocrisy, because what they would do is they would take laws that did not really exist, and they would say, you have to do this. And then they would follow those laws that they made up, but the laws that they actually were supposed to be following that God gave them, they would not do. So one of our questions for today is, what are some ways that Christians in our modern era tend to be hypocritical?
Ooh. I know that all of you can give an example of this. I'm sure that many of you have been in churches and stuff like that, where people are just, we're just like, be kind to others, and then we're like, you're in my pew, get out. That's what we do. That's what us Christians do a lot, and it's not holy. It's not what Christ wants us to do. Many atheists, the reason why they don't want to come to Jesus is because of Christians' hypocrisy, which we're known for. Many of us are known for being mean to, just mean to people, cashiers, waiters, waitresses, all that kind of stuff. We're not we don't reflect Christ as we should. That's for certain. And even in Scripture, Israel was told that they were set apart, that they were God's people, and then what they do? They went and worshipped other gods that were made of stone and wood. It just like makes no sense when you have the God of the universe who brought them out of Egypt and who parted the Red Sea and who sent them his prophets. Instead, you want to go serve a rock. It makes no sense at all.
Yeah, I think, like Keyan said, the pews are really fun. We haven't really had that issue in our church.
Just because our church is too small.
Yeah, our church is pretty small, so everybody doesn't have really an assigned seat, although we sometimes have our preferred seats, stuff like that. We do, because no one will sit on the front at our church pretty much. But I think, like you said, like we can sometimes be rude to like people that you wouldn't think of, cashiers, waitresses, waiters. No offense to the guys in the waiting on tables business. Different things like that, fast food workers, just random people that are part of our everyday lives that we just don't give a second thought to. We just say, here, my money, and then we just book it. We like don't give a tip, or we leave a bunch of dishes that are like.
We could give them a gospel tract as a tip. We need to start doing that.
Yeah, I kept meaning to do
it's
that.
Like, here you
and
go, there's $1 million. Here you go.
With money, not just the tip, because they're not probably gonna appreciate that.
Merry Christmas! You get Jesus. He's all you need. No money for you.
Another example of maybe something you want to avoid as a Christian. But honestly, I think a lot of ways that people are hypocritical today are just, we say, oh, we need to like, as Christians, we need to be loving, we need to be kind. And then someone pulls in front of you on the interstate. And then you're like, honk, get out of my way, what are you doing? And it's just like silly things like that. It's like, really?
Max Lucado did that, he said.
Like what? Or you pull out in front of somebody on the interstate and they have your Jesus bumper sticker. And that's real good. So like things like that we just don't think about, that the world does, that we as Christians should not be doing because we're supposed to be set apart. I'm not saying it's a sin to pass somebody on the interstate. I'm just saying don't be petty about things like that.
Don't hit someone on the interstate with the Jesus bumper sticker.
Yeah, don't do that either. Yeah, I think little things like that, I think are the biggest things that people notice because we don't notice them ourselves. I feel like most Christians that are genuine Christians will notice whenever there's something really big that they're doing. But a lot of times these little tiny things, we're just like, oh, it's fine. And then it's really not fine.
It's fine to cut someone off in traffic.
Sure.
Alrighty. What are some ways that affects our witness?
Well, go on with the Jesus bumper sticker. So if you have this person and they have Jesus bumper sticker on the back, it says Jesus loves you or whatever, or Jesus saves or something, they cut in front of you on the interstate and they slow down a lot. And then you almost ran into them and then they just keep being a jerk and then you end up at the same place as this person. And they go through a drive-thru. And then you see them like being really mean to the waiter or whatever the person's name is. It like takes your order, whatever. It's Bob.
Sorry, Bob.
Really mean to Bob. And then someone accidentally dings their car a little bit and they're just cussing at them and they're being really mean. If you see that and you know this person claims to be a Christian, then you as a non-Christian are going to be like, if that's what Christians like, I don't want anything to do with them. If you do something and then people see, oh, you're not acting like a Christian. As Christians, we are judged more harshly by the world because we, as a church, have burned a lot of people by our hypocrisy. So while we aren't necessarily to care what the world thinks, in some ways we kind of do have to. Because how we act reflects our witness. So if we're evangelizing, that's how it ties into evangelism. If we're evangelizing somebody and we're known as a loudmouth jerk, then they're not really going to put much stock into what you say. Just like if you heard that this guy's a con artist, you're not going to buy his car. It's just a bad idea.
Unfortunately, we did.
Yeah, off topic, but yes. Something like that, like you just don't. And so that's why I think that's the biggest reason that as Christians we need to avoid hypocrisy. What about you?
I'd say another one is probably, you covered it pretty well. Just adding on to that, we have to be careful. I know this is not, Alaina covered it already, so I'm just gonna give a few more of the effects of it. We read in our book today that there. So in our homeschool, we're going through a book called Relational Apologetics, and this guy said that he's a professor, and he was talking to two of his students, a boy and a girl, and they would not. He was evangelizing them, and because he's an apologetics professor, obviously, but his two students, they're very smart people, but they went to youth group all their lives, but they are very against Christianity. But why were they so against Christianity? They were against Christianity because of how Christians treated them. They weren't like Christians in a lot of ways, so that Christians treated them badly. And this guy's witness to them, by being kind to them, they really appreciated, and they were grateful that he was the only Christian that was kind to them. Well, that doesn't reflect good on our witness as Christians. You're the only Christian that is ever nice to someone. That doesn't really reflect good on other Christians that need to step up. And if we're true Christians, we want to be kind to people because Jesus has been so kind to us. So we're sinning against the God of the universe, putting nails in Jesus' wrist every time we're doing that. So why would we do that against God? Because when we're sinning against other people, we're directly sinning against God, and God does not like that one bit. That's for certain.
Mm-hmm. How can we ensure that our lives are a living testament to the work that Christ has done in us?
Living according to the Word of God. That's the only way that we know how to live as Christians, because of the guidelines God placed in His Word. If you're a Christian, you say, I think Paul said this in Romans, or it was either Romans or 1 Corinthians. He's like, if you abhor idols, you rob temples.
Oh.
If you're...
I think it was Romans.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, something like that. But it's not a great witness to us because nobody wants to listen to a hypocrite. Just like if a doctor's telling you need to eat healthy, you need to lose weight. No, they're not.
And then they're eating Cheetos every day.
Yeah, they come in, they're eating a donut, and it's not really the best witness for the doctor. And it's like, why should I listen to him? He's not doing it. He's not following his own advice. If a pastor is like, you need to...
be kind to others.
Yeah, you need to evangelize, and the pastor's just screaming at people that get his order wrong at restaurants. This is not the best witness, and that's not the way God would have us live. How about you?
Yeah. I think just practically, taking time to do things that other people wouldn't think of. We have a guy, like being a servant. That's a big thing. Being a servant, valuing others above themselves. And a great example of this is a guy from Good Shepherd. And we call him Coach Bob. And he's over at that church all the time. Like, I'm not kidding, all the time. He's sweeping the floors. He's getting stuff ready for Upward. He's doing all this stuff all the time. And most people don't know. But if you would go and you would talk to him, and you'd be like, oh, yeah, he's a really nice guy. And then but a lot of Christians, you talk with them, and they're like, oh, yeah, they're really nice. And then you hear some stuff about them, and you're like, oh, yeah, Like, they're not actually living up to the standards that God has set for us. And obviously, none of us can do it perfectly. But if we're constantly have a reputation for being hypocrites, that's a problem. Whereas him, if you looked into his life, then you'd be like, oh, wow, like, this guy's legit. He's sold out for Christ, and he's being a servant. So just taking time to do little things that would reflect well on Christ. Like, if you go in a bathroom and there's stuff all over the floor, picking it up. If you're at a restaurant, giving the waitress a nice tip and asking her if she has anything that you could pray for her for. That's a thing that my dad does a lot. It's something that I don't think most people just think about, because just like the waitress is just there, she's just working and she's kind of in the background. But just making people feel valued and special, along with, obviously, like Keyan said, following the commands that God has for us every day. But yeah, there's just some practical ways to do that.
Thank you guys for watching. We will see you guys next week, Lord willing, if he hasn't come back by then. Okay, until tomorrow, shine your light. Bye.